The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as I best could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You who so well know the nature of my soul will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitely settled. But the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. He had a weak point, this Fortunato, although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared. He prided himself on his connoisseurship in wine. In this respect, I did not differ from him materially. I was skillful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk, one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season, that I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he'd been drinking much. The man wore motley. He had on a tight-fitting party-striped dress, and his head was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you're luckily met. How remarkably well you're looking today. But I've received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "How?" said he. "Amontillado? Impossible. And in the middle of the carnival?" "I have my doubts," I replied. "And I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain." "Amontillado? I have my doubts. Amontillado. And I must satisfy them." "Amontillado. As you're engaged, I'm on my way to Lucchese. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me." "Lucchese cannot tell Amontillado from sherry." "And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own." "Come, let us go." "Whither?" "To your vaults." "My friend, no. I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement. Lucchese." "I have no engagement." "Come." "My friend, no. It's not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you're afflicted. The vaults are insufferably damp. They're encrusted with niter." "Let us go nevertheless. The cold is merely nothing. Amontillado, you've been imposed upon. As for Lucchese, we cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado." Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm. Putting on a mask of black silk and drawing a roquelaure closely about my person, I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. Attendants at home. They'd absconded to make merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I passed down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. "Amontillado," said he. "It is farther on," said I. "But observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls." He turned towards me and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the rheum of intoxication. "Nitre?" he asked at length. "Nitre," I replied. "How long have you had that cough?" My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. "It is nothing," he said at last. "Come," I said with decision, "we will go back. Your health is precious. You're rich, respected, admired, beloved. You're happy, as once I was. You're a man to be missed. Besides, there is Lucchese." "Enough," he said. "The cough's a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough." True, I replied. "And indeed, I have no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this Medoc will defend us from the damps." Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mold. "Drink," I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly, while his bells jingled. "I drink," he said, "to the buried that repose around us." "And I to your long life." He again took my arm, and we proceeded. "These vaults," he said, "are extensive." "The Montresors," I replied, "were a great and numerous family." "I forget your arms." "A huge human foot crushes a serpent rampant whose fangs are embedded in the heel." "And the motto?" "Nemo me impune lacessit." "No one attacks me with impunity." "Good," he said. Passed through walls of piled bones, with casks and puncheons intermingling, into the inmost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again. "The nitre," I said. "See? It increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We're below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it's too late. Your cough." "It is nothing," he said. "Let us go on. First, another draught of the Medoc." I broke and reached him a flagon of de Grave. He emptied it at a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upward with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. "You do not comprehend?" he said. "Not I replied. "Then you're not of the Brotherhood." "How?" "You're not of the Masons." Yes, I said. Yes. "You? Impossible. A Mason?" "A Mason," I replied. "A sign," he said. "It is this," I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaure. "You jest," he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces. "Let us proceed to the Amontillado." "Be it so," I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeau rather to glow and flame. At the most remote end of the crypt, there appeared another, less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled to the vault overhead in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of this interior crypt were still ornamented in this manner. From the 4th, the bones had been thrown down and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. Within the wall thus exposed by the displacing of the bones, we perceived a still interior recess. In depth about 4 feet, in width 3, in height 6 or 7. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the depth of the recess. Its termination, the feeble light did not enable us to see. Proceed, I said. Herein is the Amontillado. As for Lucchese...
He's an ignoramus,
interrupted my friend as he stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant, he reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him to the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples, distant from each other about 2 feet horizontally. From one of these depended a short chain, from the other a padlock. Throwing the links about his waist, it was but the work of a few seconds to secure it. He was too much astounded to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. Pass your hand, I said, over the wall. You cannot help feeling the nitre. Indeed, it is very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return. No? Then I must positively leave you. But I must first render you all the little attentions in my power.
Amontillado,
ejaculated my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. True, I replied, the Amontillado. I busied myself among the pile of bones of which I have before spoken. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. With these materials, and with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance of the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low, moaning cry from the depth of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth. Then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel and finished without interruption the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th tier. The wall was now nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the flambeau over the mason work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated. I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope with it about the recess. But the thought of an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs and felt satisfied. I replied to the yells of him who clamored. I aided, I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this and the clamorer grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I'd completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I'd finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position. And now there came from out the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, "A very good joke, indeed. An excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the Palazzo. Over our wine."
The Amontillado, I say.
Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will they not be awaiting us at the Palazzo? The Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone. Yes, I said. Let us be gone.
For the love of God, Montresor!
Yes, I said. For the love of God. But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, "Fortunato!" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato!" No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick, on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry, I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For the half of a century, no mortal has disturbed them. In pace requiescat. She was one of those pretty and charming girls, born as if by an accident of fate into a family of clerks. With no dowry, no prospects, no way of becoming appreciated by a rich or distinguished man, she finally allowed herself to marry a petty clerk in the Ministry of Education. But she suffered ceaselessly, feeling she was born for luxury. The sight of the little Breton peasant girl who did her housework awoke in her sad regrets and wild daydreams. She dreamed of servants sleeping on deep couches, of quiet rooms hung with old silks, graceful furniture, and priceless bric-a-brac.
When first I saw you, I felt as though I was transported to to a promontory with the waves crashing miles below my feet.
She dreamed of a small, stylish, scented sitting room, just right for the 4 o'clock chat with intimate friends.
That the rude sea grew civil at her song.
With distinguished and sought-after men, whose attention all women envied and desired.
Between heaven and earth, all armed.
It's a good stew, huh? There's nothing better.
When dining at her plain table, she would dream of elegant dinners, of shining silver and exquisite food served on precious china. Of secret smiles and whispered compliments. But in reality, she had no evening clothes, no jewels, nothing. And these were the things for which she yearned. She longed to be fascinating, envied, sought after.
I'm glad you could come.
She had a rich friend, a former schoolmate, whom she called on occasionally.
I've missed you. You're looking very well. Is that a new dress? I haven't seen it before. Yes, it is new. I just received it. It's the first to arrive of a group of things that I've had designed. I'm very excited about it.
After a time, she could no longer stand to visit her friend. She would weep for days afterwards from despair, regret, disappointment.
In Cornwall for the spring, and I'm packing up the children, and we're making this journey.
Mathilde, I have something for you.
The Minister of Education and Madame Georges Ramponneau beg Monsieur and Madame Loisel to do them the honor of attending an evening reception and ball on Monday, the 18th of January. What does this have to do with me?
Well, I thought you'd be happy. You really get a chance to go anywhere. This will be a wonderful affair. Dear, I went to a great deal of trouble to get that invitation. Not many clerks got one. All the best people will be there.
What do you think I have to wear?
The dress that you wear when we go to the theater. I think it's very pretty. What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. Only I don't have an evening gown.
Oh, surely it's not that important.
It's impossible for me to go. Give your invitation to someone at the office whose wife is better dressed than I.
Well, how much would a new gown cost? One that's not too fancy, that could be used for other things.
I don't know. Maybe 400 francs.
400 francs. I was hoping to get a gun for hunting.
It would last forever.
All right. I'll give you the 400 francs.
There.
Try to buy something pretty. What's wrong now? You have your beautiful new gown and you still seem unhappy.
I don't have a single jewel to wear with my gown. I'll look like a pauper. I'd rather not go.
Well, you can wear flowers. Flowers are very fashionable this season.
Oh.
For 10 francs, you can get 2 or 3 lovely roses.
There's nothing more humiliating than to look poor among rich women. I won't go.
How stupid we are. Go to your friend, Madame Forestier. She has plenty of jewels. Ask her to lend you one. You know her well enough for that.
It's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Here we are, Mathilde. Just pick something out, my dear.
Have you nothing else?
Oh, yes, just keep looking. You see, I don't know what you want.
Could you lend me this?
Just that one?
Oh, yes, just this. Oh, nothing else. Oh, please.
Of course.
The great evening arrived. A sensation, the prettiest woman there. She danced with enthusiasm, intoxicated with pleasure, thinking of nothing in the glory of her success. They left around 4 a.m.
Excuse us. Mademoiselle, excuse me. Have you received a letter from Marseille?
The shabbiness of her wrap clashed with the elegance of her gown. She longed to escape before being noticed by other women, so many of whom had furs.
Did you get a chance to answer it yet?
No, not yet. Well, there's no way that we can help you. Let us know.
there,
Yes,
please,
of course,
may
but
we
we
go?
have to go. Matilda's very tired.
All right.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
It was over.
What's wrong?
I don't have Madame Forestier's necklace.
What do you mean?
It's gone.
Necklace? Well, it's not possible. Did you have it when we left?
Yes, I felt it when we walked out.
Well, if you dropped it in the street, we'd have heard it fall. It must be in the cab.
Did you get the number?
The number?
The cab.
No. Did you?
No.
Well, I'll go back over our route and see if I can find it. To the police and the cab office. Nothing. Then I went to the newspapers and put in an advertisement offering a reward. You must write to your friend, Madame Forestier. Tell her you have broken the clasp on the necklace and are having it repaired. That will give us a little time.
At the end of a week, they'd given up all hope of finding the necklace.
It must be replaced.
It's impossible.
It must be replaced.
How?
There's the name of a jeweler inside the box. We can start with him.
I sold the box, but I did not sell the necklace. Unfortunately, I have no idea who did.
They traveled all over the city, going from jeweler to jeweler, looking for a necklace similar to the other. Finally, in a shop in the Palais Royal, they found a diamond necklace they thought looked exactly like the one they had lost.
How much?
40,000 francs.
No.
Monsieur, because of the circumstances, 37,500.
$35,000.
36. I fear that's the best I can do.
Will you hold it for 3 days?
Certainly.
And if by the end of February the necklace is returned, you will take this one back and refund 34,000 francs.
I agree to that also.
To raise the money, he borrowed 100 francs here, 60 there. He pawned his possessions. He signed notes and made ruinous deals. He did business with loan sharks until he had the entire 36,000 francs. He compromised the rest of his life. Then, terrified by the future, by the black despair he felt closing in on him, he went back to claim the new necklace.
You should have returned it to me earlier. I might have needed it.
If Madame Forestier opened the box, would she notice the substitution? Would she consider Mathilde a thief?
Thank you, Mathilde.
They changed their lodgings. They sent away their maid. She now lived the life of the poor. The frightful debt had to be paid, and she would help pay it.
How much for these?
50 sous.
50 for these carrots? I can get them
Clothed like
anywhere
a
else.
peasant woman, she haggled with the grocer, the fruit dealer, the butcher, over every last sou of her money.
40.
And in return, she was insulted by them.
Thank you.
He worked nights, balancing tradesmen's accounts, and did copying work at a miserable 5 sous a page. This on top of his regular job. And this This went on for 10 long years. Until his last creditor was paid. Everything, the exorbitant rates of the loan sharks, the accumulated compound interest, every debt was now paid back. Sometimes, when she was alone, Mathilde would sit and dream of that long ago evening when she'd been so beautiful and so admired. She'd not lost the necklace. Who can guess? How strange and unpredictable life is. How full of change. And how small a thing can bring success or ruin. One Sunday, when Mathilde had gone for a walk in the park, she noticed a woman. It was Madame Forestier, still pretty, still charming.
Hello, Jeanne.
Madame, I don't know you. I'm sure there must be some mistake.
No, I'm Mathilde. Mathilde Loisel.
Oh, my poor Mathilde. How you have changed.
Well, I've had some difficult times since we last met. Miserable times. And all because of you.
Because of me? How is that possible?
Do you remember that diamond necklace you loaned me?
Oh, yes, very well.
Well, I lost it.
Lost it? No. You returned it.
I returned a necklace just like it. And it's taken us 10 years to pay for it. You can imagine it wasn't easy for those of us who have nothing. But it's over now. And I'm content.
You say that you purchased a diamond necklace to replace mine.
Yes. You never noticed it then. They were just alike.
Oh, my poor Mathilde. Mine were paste. Why, that necklace wasn't worth 500 francs.